Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I wish, Mr. Speaker, to thank the Almighty God, thank the constituents of Vieux North for the opportunity once again to continue to represent them in the Parliament. Many trials we have been through. They have held my hand, stood with me, believing that this journey of mine with them is one of hard and honest struggle for good. With their help and the grace of God, I will continue to work for a better life for all of our people, in particular the people of Bellevue, Pierrot, Grace, Vieux, and all the communities within those major communities, Mr. Speaker. And I will continue to do my little part in securing a brighter day for our children, not only in Vieux North, but in St. Lucia, as long as God and the people permit. Je vous remercie, bon Dieu, avec tout gens Vieux North. Il est difficile aller, délai, en chaque difficulté, nous allons débattre avec. Mais yo sa chebe la moi Mr. Speaker ka prédire ba moi grand monde konjen yo content moi, and I want to thank everyone who continues to pray and support me. I want to thank colleagues and honorable members. I stand today, Mr. Speaker, with the member for Castries East, a truthful, tried and tested worker with results to show, who has been allowed by the people of Castries to serve for over 20 years as their parliamentary representative. I stand with the leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party and the leader of the opposition. I stand with my colleagues on this side of the House to offer a totally different experience of our people when it comes to the proposals of this government and when it comes to the results of the proposals. The experience of our people, Mr. Speaker, is one of awe, disbelief, and shock every time the CWP government presents a major policy, only to find out that the Prime Minister or his ministers, Mr. Speaker, either deliberately misled the country and that we cannot trust what they say, or is selling another part of St. Lucia to benefit another close friend or a business macho while putting critical issues at the back of the line. Or they are hiding another bad deal made in secret somewhere. That even when some work is done, Mr. Speaker, and we all admit, whichever government, that some work will be done, even when some work is done, there is a general fear that our St. Lucia is being pulled right from under our communities through deals, that our longtime friends in the international community no longer recognize the hard-working, honest St. Lucian when we reach the immigration or customs border and control, because this government has compromised the St. Lucianness that we knew with the deliberate stupidity of the version of the CIP. And I'm going to come to that in a while. Mr. Speaker, some of les expliquer c'est manière nous ka garder la vie en cette liste, différentes manières UWP ka garder la vie. Chaque travail qu'a fait, oui, mais chaque c'est gouvernement annoncé en bagaille. Moun paie parce que moun pas assuré qui ça yo kay fait parce que le premier ministre l'a dit en bagaille aujourd'hui là ni combien documents ou ça point ou virer démenti ou be dit c'est pas ça été dit avant. Comme ça moun pas assuré qui ça pourquoi. Moun pas assuré parce que manière gouvernement qu'a manager ça fait CIP ça fait 20 passeports. Moun ka commencé trembler parce que customs l'autre pays qui a commencé garder cette liste dans différentes manières. Mais nous attendons qui manière passeport qui gouvernement te zabayi yo teni pour point vier. Et na vier on laisse ça tout de suite. Mr. Speaker, I have done this before and I will spend some time on it today. The Prime Prime Minister, on page 40 of his budget speech, spent approximately 2 minutes on agriculture. And I went through the tape. Approximately 2 minutes on agriculture to speak about the same programs that were left when we left office, the BAM and many others that I will talk about in a while. But before I speak about agriculture for a few minutes, Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. I want to continue to remind honorable members about the context within which we speak about agriculture in St. Lucia. Mr. Speaker, very quickly, bananas was our major foreign exchange earner until 1991. So much for this rumor that is the Labour Party who removed bananas as the main export earner and then put in tourism. From 1991, it was tourism that took the #1 spot. St. Lucia's agriculture sector is also made up of fisheries, other crops, livestock, pork, chicken, small ruminants, sheep, goats, rabbits, and so on, and a small quantity of cattle around the country. Mr. Speaker, you will recall that the banana industry employed up to 12,000 people directly in the 1990s, before all of the problems with the WTO. And we are not going into a TMT because there's always this thing about labor traffic. And if it is not their conscience when they sleep at night, it will be their conscience at some final hour. But, Mr. Speaker, the facts are there. The other sectors, as we know, have not been well developed. Avant la teni problème avec Europe, avec manière yo ka vendre fig à les market là. Industrie fig là te ka employé à 12,000 moun. Avec difficulté arrivé puis fig descend avec bagay changer, tout en Caraïbe là pas cette ici tout seul. En tous ces pays l'île Livan encore fig. C'était plus gros messier qu'a fait économie pays l'île Livan. Toutes ces industries fig ça la quasi. En ces pays l'île Livan c'est ici tout seul qui a voé fig aller l'Angleterre. St. Lucia today, in the former Windward Islands grouping, is the only country exporting bananas to the United Kingdom. And not only that, St. Lucia is the only country with some sort of semblance of the banana industry that we want in these countries. The other islands have major problems. Mr. Speaker, finally I want to say, to create the context, the banana industry has been in existence so long ago that in 1953, the SLBGA had over 1,000 members already. 1953. That was long before the UWP was born as a party. So I will not even go into the whole thing about is UWP that bring bananas and all that foolishness. The facts are there. In 1953, we had an SLBGA, St. Lucia Banana Growers Association, with 10,000 members. UWP was formed in 1964. So despite the challenges, Mr. Speaker, over the last 15 years, we can take the last 15 years, there have been many challenges, and the debates can go on and on and on about the challenges. Over the last 15 years, we saw in 2006, when the government changed, 33,982 tons of bananas were exported. By 2011, when the government left office, the export was 6,556. Now we have to factor into this Hurricane Thomas. So let's forget about the Hurricane Thomas year, when exports from October to December, we did not export because of natural disaster. So let us take 2006 to 2010, or even 2008, when St. Lucia exported the highest tonnage in that period. So forget the hurricane years. So the difference in tonnage between the time the UWP came into office in 2006 and the time they left, and I have removed Hurricane Thomas because that's nobody's fault, the difference is really minus 57 tons. If you have to take everything. So the highest tonnage, not theirs, but the highest tonnage was 33,982 tons. And so, Mr. Speaker, it tells you that this is not Sabakati agricole la nou te ni le moun te sa anek voye fig l'Angleterre ek ou ka jwen l'argent voye fig l'Angleterre bagay la changé, and because of that the whole agricultural sector had to change to adjust to the issues we are having in the banana industry. And as many experts tell you, the Minister of Agriculture will tell you differently, but many experts tell you that we will never get back to exporting 100,000 tons of bananas to England like we did before. In 2011, Mr. Speaker, page 8 of the 2011 Social Economic Review states that agriculture declined for 3 consecutive years. So before 2011, not just Hurricane Thomas, we're not even talking about Hurricane Thomas and so on, agriculture declined for 3 consecutive years. That was the general context. So, Mr. Speaker, let nous parler about agricole. Et qui ça qui fait agricole? Nous n'y pouvons garder ça qui fait. Les nous en tout un gouvernement up to à présent. And we can debate about cocoa industry. We can go to 1921 and talk about the Swift Company. We can talk about a lot of things. But I want to put this debate within the context. And so despite all of the loud pronouncement, Mr. Speaker, tout se bagay la, ou tan ministre agricole ka di, ek tout le nou ka di, le nou ka isa la, ek maka toujours di sa le maka debate, nou pa fache ek yon alot. Se debate nou ka debate, ek mene papier douvan, ek moutue ki sa ki la verite. All of the brouhaha about agriculture, even in this budget, when they return to government, this budget and the last budget, and I will demonstrate this in a while, it shows that this government has no creativity where agriculture is concerned. It is the same programs, and I hope the Minister of Agriculture will come and tell us what the new programs are. Agriculture, in addition to bananas, Mr. Speaker, is also about chicken production. We worked with the farmers and the importers to attempt to ensure that our local farmers, ces gens qui produisent poule like chicken, te joignent à plus gros share market là. It's also about pork production. We worked with the cooperative to ensure that we specified things like cost of production to give them skills. There was also this idea to allow them to participate with government to operate the Beauséjour station. You talk about a small ruminant production, agriculture is also about that. And if you go to Beauséjour, the sheep and goat pens are there, breeds from Australia, and also breeds from America that we brought in to ensure that we could boost the small ruminant sector. Fama ka brite avec mouton, nou te ka travay avec yo. Agriculture is also about cooperatives. Ek maintenant yen abije a Premier Minister parlé about cooperatives. And Mr. Speaker, if we are talking about resilience, the Prime Minister spoke about resilience. The economy must be resilient. You can never have a resilient economy if you don't speak to creative issues in agriculture, rural development, cooperatives, especially cooperatives. A lot of work continued when we were in government. Even looking at the non-financial cooperatives, c'est ti society a different commune now. Agriculture is also about mariculture, sea moss and so on, apiculture. And the manuals are here of what the work that was done. Agriculture is about links between the hotels and the farmers. The SLHTA clearinghouse project, which was launched when we were there. What has happened to this? And if we cannot establish, Mr. Speaker, the link, and it's not just a link in name, si nous pas ça faire manière pour farmer ek pêcheur vendre pli bay c'est l'hôtel là, ça nous a dit c'est avec faire l'hôtel tout partout au pays cette ici avec nous pas kay vendre produit nous. Agriculture is also about tree crop production, coffee, cocoa. And when we spoke about coffee and coconut and so on, they laughed. Agriculture is about food and feeding, Mr. Speaker. Agriculture is about qui ça maman l'école ka manger et qui ça nous ka manger. And I find in this budget, I have not found the emphasis on school feeding and the link between the school feeding programs and the farmers in the local communities. I understand, Mr. Speaker, and I wait on clarification from the Minister for Education, that even the school feeding program is down for privatization. I understand there have been discussions, and I await that even the school feeding program is down for privatization. Programme c'est l'école là, comme maman ka joine manger l'école là, j'ik ça, you voulez privatize. And Mr. Speaker, I have said so before, and if people disagree, it's strictly based on politics, that the school feeding programs in any developing country, and right now in the developed countries, they've been doing it for a while, but the school feeding programs is the first entry point for the link between agriculture and school and proper nutrition. And we must not make light of it. It is not good enough to say we put more money into the school feeding program. I want to see how the Minister for Agriculture explains the further deepening of the link between education and agriculture. It's about horticulture. Mr. Speaker, moun ki ka planter fleurs avec du fonds bagay comme ça. Là nous tant gouvernement nous offert un space en l'office by ces moun qui en horticultural society. So agriculture is about all of that. It's about active collaboration. And Mr. Speaker, I am waiting for the minister to explain where in this budget that the Prime Minister presented, the 2 minutes that he spoke about agriculture, how do the programs help resilience in the economy, as the Prime Minister said? You cannot promise hotels, give away all of our lands, and not make major advances with plans for local food production and consumption. Mr. Speaker, last year, on May 9th, the Prime Minister delivered his budget speech, and he promised that part of the growth strategy would be bananas, a lot of money into bananas. And putting money into bananas, as the member for Denry North said, is a good thing. And no one can quarrel with that. It's a good thing anytime you're going to help farmers, fishers, and so on. But the result is that we exported fewer bananas, and banana farmers made less income. And we can talk about all of the reasons. Usadi say win fresh, kiba one figure, and so on. But the Prime Minister, the Minister for Agriculture, misled the country. La yo di moun ki yo van pli fig l'année passée l'année avant. The minister said exports to England increased by 200%. Mr. Speaker, what happened is this, very simply. Very simply, what happened is this. While we had some issues in September of 2016, the major problem with the banana industry right now is that the minister damaged et faufilé un programme jeune qui de travaille bien. Il faufilé. And Mr. Speaker, what has happened, as the member for Denry North said, is that in the valleys, canals, Margaretut, black cigatoka is back in a very serious way. C'est moun ki ka fait programme là en figue avec black cigatoka. Either your party read say manual là bien the manuals that were left, or they are on a frolic of their own, but that is the result. À présent, Mr. Speaker, they brought something for the farmers. You may buy your chemical blend fertilizers. Et tout farmer tout partout paie chemical blend là. Farmers are complaining, and the weekly exports of bananas to France, we are still waiting. What about the report of the trial to France? What happened? And today is Thursday. Are we going to see a shipment next week? And I'm on record, Mr. Speaker, And I said that anything this government or any government does to advance bananas or anything in agriculture, fisheries, and rural development, everybody should applaud. Because no matter what you do with tourism, you see those people who tell you you can build hotels and tourism will take you into heaven? There's a famous Calypsonian who has in his song, you can't depend just on tourists, John Compton, to take St. Lucians into heaven, because all we have is just sea water and sand. Chalky. Tourism is important. The jobs in tourism, very important. The jobs in the hotels, c'est hôtel est important. Mais si gouvernement pas déchelé programme agricole en ces communes là, ça fait on est parlé about tourism tout seul, pas qu'à y mener nous qu'on voulait aller. And in this budget, I don't see, the government speaks a lot about agriculture, but the evidence, and that is for all United Workers' Party governments, and I have said so before, I'm on the record. And the last time when I said it, the minister over there shook himself and he said some things. I didn't take him on then because I did not bring all the social economy from way back when, but today I brought all. When you look at the figures, that's what I'm talking about. It's not just talking about agriculture, you know. When you look at the figures and the growth, and you look at the programs, all of them, Mr. Speaker, the only time they can speak about creativity, the only time they can speak about volumes, is the time when we were exporting bananas, and I told you up to 1991, bananas was our main income earner. After the issues with bananas, I want them to tell me the programs that they instilled in the agriculture sector to change agriculture in this country. Mr. Speaker, they spoke about diversification and they brought diversification back. The result, however, is that income by farmers from other crops other than bananas continue to decline. And I'm hoping, Mr. Speaker, I hope that gouvernement fait bagay pour changer situation ça là. Because agriculture is not about food production, and agriculture is not about producing bears. It's about doing things in the country to advance the rural sector and the business sector in agriculture. Mr. Speaker, the government instead focused on handing over our assets. The assets of the farmers, the fishers, who for years have depended on those institutions. And yes, there have been many problems. There have been many problems with the marketing board and the fish marketing corporation. But what I want to say to you, Mr. Speaker, is this. Quand le gouvernement nous a dit, là ni problème en fish marketing avec un marketing board. Et c'est difficile pour dealer avec ça. In 2017, on page 39 of his address, the Prime Minister said that the marketing board, the liabilities were 2 million. The St. Lucia Fish Marketing Corporation owed about 5 million. On page 41 of his address in 2018, he spoke again about the indebtedness of the marketing board and the Fish Marketing Corporation. The workers at the marketing board, I understand, did not receive their salaries. I'm hoping that they have received them now. I'm not suggesting that there are no problems with institutions. No. What I'm saying to you, the focus of the government, Mr. Speaker, is not those institutions. You mean to tell me 2 million and 5 million, that's $7 million in liability. 7 million. Farmers and fishers. Those are little St. Lucians who use a fork and who go to sea on a little boat. So you can take $7 million and complain about it. But $24 million you allow a hotel not to pay. But you're quarreling about $2 million and $5 million. You see, it's not that they were not doing badly, you know. It's not that they didn't have problems. There are lots of institutions with problems in this country. And there are lots of private businesses with problems in this country. And they find ways to get the governments to assist. So I don't take this argument that because of those liabilities, we have to just choke this in a corner. It's about the attitude of this government. And if there's a huge problem with the marketing board and a huge problem with the Fish Marketing Corporation, Mr. Speaker, what is the problem with CHTTI? What is the problem with CHTTI? I did not hear any report. Well, I'm hoping its training and so on. So the Minister for Education, I'm hoping, will say something about CHTTI. Parce que nous avons joué un chay parole from étudiants qui allaient prendre l'argent à des banques pour aller CHTTI en programme. Nous avons bagay à quoi dit CHTTI, pas ni accréditation. À quoi dit moun ka dit, y aura pas de l'argent yo. Ou bien, y a pas qu'à jouer un degree ou bien un certificat qui raisonnable et qui s'en sauve. What is happening to CHTTI? So, Mr. Speaker, the Marketing Board and the Fish Marketing Corporation, the Marketing Board in particular, I heard an announcement that they'll be amalgamated. So I wait. I don't want to jump the gun. I wait. Because the farmers of Grace, say Farmer Guasla, the Fair Trade Group of Kako Vieux, the PRO farmers, the farmers in Vieux Fort North, and of course, farmers of Saltibus and Alger and so on, all depend on the Marketing Board. And while the Marketing Board has its problems, I am hoping that the right thing is done. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to be sent off track by what the Minister for Agriculture said, that he said he also depends on the Marketing Board. And he said victimization. In the last debate, the member for Soufrière indicated that when I became Minister for Agriculture, the member for Babuno had a contract with the Marketing Board. And when I became Minister, we sought to remove him. And that's true. That's very interesting. That is very interesting. I'll say no more. He said it's true. So if I became Minister on the 6th of December 2011, that's the date, the Minister is saying he had a contract with the Marketing Board, and I did things for him to lose the contract. So you are Minister for Agriculture. I just want to get it clear. He said true. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to get that very clear. You are Minister for Agriculture. You are saying it's true that when I became Minister, you had a contract with the Marketing Board. So you are the Minister fighting on behalf of farmers, but you competing with them in the same Marketing Board. Say true again. But that's what you said. No, but I'm not saying no. Mr. Speaker, let me continue. Mr. Speaker, can I continue? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The interesting thing here, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, honorable Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
I come in.
What is that? Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
I never said it's wrong.
Honorable members, I know we're talking about fish market, but it's not in here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The very interesting thing here, Mr. Speaker, the very bagalaki tu intéressant, c'est m'a jamais accusé ministre pour faire bail qui pas bon. That's the interesting thing. I never said he did anything wrong. I just stated the facts. I never said he did something wrong. I just repeated what they said, and all of them are there's nothing wrong with that. I never said he did anything wrong. Conscience c'est un dangereux bagay. Conscience c'est un dangereux bagay. I simply stated the facts. That's all. I simply stated the facts. And first of all, Mr. Speaker, to go on record, I am not aware, and the minister cannot provide any documentary evidence or any facts or any tape recording that I stopped a contract that he had at the St. Lucia Marketing Board when I became minister. So if he was Minister for Agriculture, si c'était ministre agricole, et qu'il tenait un contract à Marketing Board là, il dit ça vrai, ma du bout contract li. Let me continue. I never accuse you of anything. I'm just speaking. Mr. Speaker, CHTTI, we want to know what happened. What happened, an account for CHTTI. And I can never forget a member of this house saying, if he could have opened 10 schools for his wife, he would. There's no problem, but let's get a report. Mr. Speaker, The agriculture-led strategy is again mentioned in the Prime Minister's budget address. And they spoke about diversification. Moi vle di, Mr. Speaker, ça important parce que là nous t'es là, tout secteur, c'est secteur qui pas fig là. Pork, chicken, viande cochon, supermarket purchases, hotel purchases, domestic purchases and so on. Yo tout mouté. Et yo tout fait plus bien passer yo te ka fait avant. So ça important. Ma against diversification. Moi même ka just dit, Mr. Speaker, ma wè se bagay neuf la gouvernement ka faire to push this. And since the performance in agriculture in the subsectors went down, I'm hoping that the minister can shed light on what will happen to encourage an increase in production. Mr. Speaker, you parle about BAM, National Diagnostic Facility, retrofitting of agro facilities, disaster risk reduction. Toutes ces bagailles ça c'est bon programme avec toutes ces bagailles ça là t'es a commencé. And some of those things, Mr. Speaker, the concept and so on, some of those things started years ago, you know. And that's why usually when I come to the parliament, I don't try and play ping pong with the politics. I do this, you didn't do this, he do this, and it's the people's business we're talking about. We can spar over performance, okay, but the BAM project is continuing, and St. Lucia has a record, and the minister admitted it. Qui performance cette ici, a BAM là, c'est really bon, c'est toujours bon. And I want to thank the technocrats for that. Because it's not just us. It's the technocrats and the work that they did. So, Mr. Speaker, je demande pour à parole les coopératives, à parole les affaires CIMOS là. With our work, there are many new products. Dark moss from Vieux North. A beau qualité CIMOS qui moi-même ka boire chai. School feeding program, comme j'ai dit, bananas and plantains, the marketing board, and so on. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to move to another subject quickly. I want to say to you, Mr. Speaker, that when the Prime Minister delivered his address, there was a time he sounded like he wanted to cry or he was crying. I don't know. I'm not an expert on tears. Mr. Speaker, Samakadi say, I have seen on television at many ceremonies where the Prime Minister cries. He breaks down and he cries. That is a compassionate man, according to one of the members. But up to yesterday, I got the stories of about 10 young women, some of whom have children to feed, who are dismissed, who are working for over 6 years and told that they no longer have contracts. Somebody else will take your place. I hear about the hospital that the member for Castries Central spoke about, the situation. It is St. Jude Nitik. Now, Mr. Speaker, I say, Mam Parliament Castries Central di, Amundi St. Jude Nitik. The Minister for Agriculture will know, and others I'm sure who read, that that's a very serious issue. Si Mam Central Castries Kadi, St. Jude Nitik, et qui savent ça, là c'est pour une emergency operation St. Jude, pour éthique St. Jude. I didn't hear the Prime Minister crying about that. I did not know that the Prime Minister cried when he signed over almost all of the strategic lands in Vieux, where my children may never be able to buy a spot of land if he continues down that road. I didn't hear him crying about that. Il parlait là, il parlait yon homme, toutes ces terres là, il parlait là, au temps où yo voye la caillou, et que yo pas ba yo travail yo, il parlait. I didn't hear him crying about that. So I'm wondering whether it's compassion for true. Is it compassion for true? So this crying thing, this crying business can continue. But let us now balance when he cries and why he cries. Mr. Speaker, they also spoke about investigations. And I'm coming to DSH. Mais on parle shy about investigation. And the Prime Minister in his address said that an amendment was made to the Crown Proceedings Act. And he gleefully said that, which means there are no limitations to pursue matters. I am so happy about that, Mr. Speaker. I'm happy about that. I am happy about that because Moses Musa Baptiste, the son of Geli and Linus, okay, who carried bananas and who tried hard, like many of us around the table, in trying circumstances to be educated with assistance from my parents, my mother, my aunt, and the rest of the family. And a family who stood by me. You say investigate from now till you tick ada bef. My idea kisa. They can investigate. I'm very happy when the Prime Minister said that, because there are lots of things to investigate. And I think the young people and the people of St. Lucia are tired. The people of the Caribbean too. Although in some Caribbean countries we see movement. They are tired of it. And I said so before in the House. If you find things on people, stop saying it. Every day you come, oh, investigate, we'll investigate, we'll investigate. Let the independent processes begin. When we were in government, we investigated too, you know. Nous faisons investigation. Ek Premier Ministre, un High Court judge dit, il a menti, pas à quoi ça il a dit. Tuxedo villas. So it's not that we are not serious about investigations. Mr. Speaker, there are investigations to be had. And it's already a document of the House. It was already laid in the House, but I'll just show it. There's a thick review of financial operations of town and village and rural councils. That was presented to the DPP. So Labour Party is not about any joke about investigation, because we believe, like you are saying, that justice must be done. We can't have politicians parading as if, oh, I'll investigate you. And then tomorrow we go to the young people and you get a little man smoking a spliff and he spends 5 years in jail. You take a man from Vieux North. Maybe he did wrong. I'm not saying we have to condone wrong things. Okay? You want to investigate. And we have all of those big books sitting there. Investigate. Lania by Vieux North, moi vle investigate. Lania by Vieux North, ni shy page on ça. Project qui yo sign check pour qui va jamais fait. Yo là. We did something about it. We put it in the hands of the appropriate authority. We lose elections. People lose elections for different reasons. That has nothing to do. Losing elections has nothing to do with fact or truth or justice. Losing elections has nothing to do with truth or justice. Mr. Speaker, the DSH, they're not crying when they give. You know DSH, Mr. Speaker, Sayofe? You're the value of an investment which is $2.7 billion US. To get that investment going on the CIP, you need 300,000 in real estate. To get that, you needed 9,000 applicants. And each person who applies for a passport can include, let's say, 4 people per family. So you needed 36,000 passports in the original way that the CIP was organized, 36,000. But let's look at what they're doing now. UWP has made it worse. For this 2.7 billion US investment, the money now is 100,000 US. You need 27,000 applicants. And let us say 4 people per family, 4 monoshak family. You now need 108,000 passports. 108,000 passports to cover this investment of the DSH. Listen to me well. 108,000 St. Lucian passports, and they all be given to one man. Mr. Speaker, very serious. The so-called Pearl of the Caribbean. Here is what can happen, Mr. Speaker. Quickly, I will tell you, because there are so many things I have to talk about in the last minutes. You know what will happen? Moi, Jean Vieux Fort North, and already the government, based on recent statutory instruments, has acquired all of those adjoining lands that NDC had. The statutory instruments are there, and they now reverted to the Crown. Interesting. You know what can happen, Mr. Speaker? Moi vle Leo kini supermarket li a Pierrot. Lucia who has a bar in Pierrot. I want auto specialists who sell parts, vehicle parts. And I want those people who have small businesses in Vieux Fort. And those in Castries will not escape. The lawyers will not escape. The doctors will not escape. I want all St. Lucians who are business people and who are St. Lucians to think about that. They have moved the situation where you needed a particular net worth. So, in our view, those people were less likely, they were less likely to do the things that I'm going to suggest now. Right now, you need 108,000 passports, and we don't know who those passports are going to. Right now, you're already rejecting, taking passports back. And I want all of those people to think about it. How are they going to stop those people from opening a chicken store in Vieux Fort? From opening a retail supply store in Vieux Fort? From coming to Castries, into all of the traditional sectors? Vin commencer van motoka, vin van parts machine, vin van chemic, jik fait pain. How are they going to stop them from doing that? The thousands of people, because of the recklessness of this government, how are they going to stop? How are they going to stop them from opening another parts store next to auto specialists in Vieux Fort North? How are they going to stop it? And there are Caribbean countries where that experience has started. How are they going to stop it? And ça c'est un bagay DSH pour toute cette lycéen. This is not something just for UWP and Labour. This is something for all St. Lucians. And I'm not speaking of any nationality here, because the passports that were revoked does not have the CH name that you said. The passports that you just had to revoke. So, Mr. Speaker, this thing about DSH is for all St. Lucians. It is not just about Vieux Fortians. It is for all St. Lucians. And so when they tell us that they're going to bring horses to set up temporary facilities, that's the word now, temporary facilities, and they are going to do all of the things. Premier Minister Kadino say, yon bagay ki za approuvé, only phase 1. I don't know what agreement you're talking about. Là nous vin mette agreement en parlement là, yo ka sauter à cause de chaque kito bord glochou. Yo ka sauter ho, ka sauter. But Mr. Speaker, that is a very important thing. It's a very important thing. So no matter how loud they speak, all of St. Lucia, whether you are a lawyer, whether you live in Cap Estate, whether you live in Choiseul, whether you are a doctor, everybody has to be concerned about the DSH. Mr. Speaker, St. Jude Hospital. The Prime Minister called the St. Jude Hospital situation a mess, and he said, it's like we had no vision. I need to remind this House, although we have done it so many times, and the leader of the opposition did it eloquently, I need to remind this House that the UWP started to reconstruct the hospital in 2010. The UWP government, under the member for Castries North, changed the policy direction in August of 2011. Elections were 2 months away, or 3 months away. So they started to reconstruct the hospital, but in August of 2011, they changed the policy direction. So they're now going to build a new hospital with all kinds of drawings and plans that were taken to cabinet, as has been explained by a former minister. They can say they lie. Yo commencé l'hôpital là en 2010 avec bon à août 2011, juste 2 mois avant l'élection. Yo changé l'idée yo. Moun ka jwen contract pa ici, élection ka vini comment bagay chaud. They changed the policy. And the policy was changed according to this document, which has been made a document of the House that they were trying to hide. The policy was changed by the former Prime Minister without the funds available to back the policy. Yo pa teni l'argent là. So si yo collect l'argent, moun ki vend bicycle tout différent bay comme ça. Là yo changer policy a pour changer l'hôpital là, yo pa teni l'argent. And so the facts are very straight about the hospital. And we can debate from now till the cows come. If you as a government decide...
Honorable Member, you have 15 minutes remaining to conclude your contribution.
Thank you. If the government decides that they want to mash up the hospital, just tell the people so. But they give you mixed messages. They were taught that by maybe the associations with companies that are all over the internet trying to explain themselves, and at CNN and everywhere. So give a different story. So shift the ground under them so that they're not sure what they're listening to, and jam them with a decision. That's what they're doing. So the Minister for Health comes and says that they're going to demolish the hospital. Then another minister says the structure is poor. Then the Prime Minister comes and he says the hospital will finish by December of last year, of 2016. Then they go to the hospital site and hold a big ceremony with the Mexicans. And they say, oh, that's very good, very good. Every good processes are very good. So they are confusing you. They know what they want to do, Mr. Speaker. But they are confusing you. Then they carry out investigations. And investigation. People will go to jail. And people will do this and so on. They try to go at people's homes, as my leader, my esteemed leader said yesterday. That yo ale la kay moun parce que yo kwe le ba bay moun bagay pou se we kay yo. Mais là yo rive la, Mr. Speaker, they realize it's their own supporters. They forgot that they were in office and gave some of these contracts. They forgot who was the Prime Minister in 2011. It was the member for Castries North. So if you want to take a decision, you're the government, take a decision. Don't try to change it. And so they are building the ground to confuse us. They are building the ground to confuse us. Elections were in November of 2018. Throughout the time, Mr. Speaker, Premier Ministre a acheté l'argent, and a formal request was made to the Taiwanese for funds to complete the hospital. The difference between them and us is that we never stop working on the St. Jude Hospital. We never stop. Yo sa di nou pa fè bon travail. We can debate that. Yo sa many engineers di whatever, but our commitment to completing the St. Jude Hospital never wavered. We never stopped.
I don't want you to work for me because you'll never finish. The job will never be done. You'll never stop working. And the work never.
Mr. Speaker, today I heard, not today, but the Prime Minister indicated in his speech that the cabinet is considering the decision. Now, c'est là n'a dit yo ka essayer to blow nous, Mr. Speaker. Parce que the Minister for Economic Development is on record as saying that they will construct a new hospital. The Prime Minister said in his speech that the decision is still pending. He said so. That the cabinet is still, cabinet a gardé décision toujours. Est-ce ça c'est mensonge ou bien couinade? Qui ça y est? Si vous voulez croiser l'hôpital là, juste dis moun ka croiser l'hôpital là. Pas jouer zinzin avec moun à connaissant yo TikTok, TikTok. The Prime Minister said the cabinet is still considering the decision. The member for Castries South East and Minister for Economic Affairs has also identified the site He's on record as saying that it will be next to the brewery. He's on record as saying that the hospital will be built next to the brewery. And I said in the House before, I look forward to the marketing campaigns of the brewery that has a major hospital less than 20 feet from it. I look forward to the day when the brewery will sit with the government to decide where the septic tanks will go. I look forward to the day. The member is on record as saying that. So it's up to them. Mr. Speaker, the issue of St. Jude Hospital is a touchy one. And this government, as was suggested by the former Prime Minister, this government must stop playing that kind of politics with the people of St. Lucia. And I keep saying it is not just the people of St. Lucia. The St. Jude matter is not a thing about the people of Vieux, sorry. It's not just the people of Vieux. It's about the people of St. Lucia. So when the member for Castries Central says St. Jude Hospital has ticks, God forbid, but none of us should ever find ourselves in a situation where the St. Jude Hospital has ticks and the government admits, they say the St. Jude Hospital has ticks, and I haven't heard them do anything about it. Mr. Speaker, I need to ask the Minister for Agriculture, although I know he doesn't know the answer. Is it true that the equine disease-free zone is going to be 3 kilometers, as was done in previous establishments with that same horse company, that same horse racing club, the China Horse Club? You cannot have an international race course without an equine disease-free zone. The government refuses to tell the people of Opicon, ces gens Guasla, ces gens Black Bear, qui ni mouton et cabrit, qui ça qui arrive les animaux yo? Yo ka di ça pas vrai. In the fact sheet, they produce a fact sheet, Mr. Speaker, and they said that's not true. In fact, they didn't have the term correctly. They said equine free zone. So at that time I said, hey, there's going to be no horse race. Because they call it equine free zone. It's the equine disease free zone. And the Minister of Agriculture needs to tell the people who live in my constituency of Larry Tuet, Grace, all of those people who are from bees, from beehives, von, ek yoni, tout kalte bagay en kapèche la, ki boss stadium la, ki sa kay fet ek zanimo yo? The government says nothing. Mr. Speaker, I wish to say that in education, the government speaks about the EQUIP. That's a creation of the St. Lucia Labour Party and Dr. Robert Lewis. He took a delegation to Barbados in 2015. We wanted to ensure that the children who are differently able, c'est un là qui peut-être n'y a problème avec body yo, joignent facilité, c'est un là qui disable. Training for teachers in special education and the lands given to Donata next to the Dame Paulette Primary School. So we're happy that it will happen. If it happens, good. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak about some of those social programs very quickly. I think the Roving Caregivers program, Mr. Speaker, really assisted a number of families in the constituency of Beaufort North. And I know there are other constituencies where those kinds of programs where people who are trained went into the homes to assist. I think programs like that need to be supported a little more. The after-school program, there are some students in my constituency of Beaufort North, Bellevue and some other areas, who are in the after-school program, Obeyovle, a 2 after-school program. That's a good program. So if the programs are good, Mr. Speaker, I think they should be expanded. So programs like that, the after-school program and so on, I think should really be expanded. Someone told me, Mr. Speaker, that you need to be careful because they have already said you ain't getting nothing. But I wish to say, Mr. Speaker, as the individual who is responsible for Beaufort North, that is my responsibility to ask. And I have been doing so, in the formal way and in the informal way. Mr. Speaker, some areas of concern, the PROUD program, And the minister with responsibility for Proud has promised that the Proud program will continue. There was a meeting, and I've said so before, and I look forward to the surveys and so on, because that is a good program. Proud program pour pico pour se mona jouen papier tayo. But please, do not sell the land to the people at $7 a square foot like you're doing in the Babuno area. Those people help to develop the area. $7 a square foot, c'est trop l'argent, Mr. Speaker. I want to speak about, Mr. Speaker, the agricultural feeder roads phase 2. Mr. Speaker, we were working on this program, and it should have been funded by the QAT funds. The Woodlands Road, the Grace Woodlands Road, the Vieux Road, the Bamboo Road, Vevasel, Bellevue Road. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm asking...
Honorable Member, you have 5 minutes left.
Thank you. I have spoken, I have written to the Minister for Infrastructure. I have met with some of the officials, and they promised to do some immediate remedial work. That was done, Mr. Speaker. But I wish to say that the 150 that everyone is paying is a different 150 that Vieux North is paying. It's him. Because my remedial work, Mr. Speaker, was a mixture of dry cement with dry pumice or stones, just left dry. That is my remedial work. I'm not quarreling about that. I continue, and I'll continue to ask. Because it looks like the 150 at a job Vieux North ka pay here. Pour gas la. Pour chimé en le gas la. Il passe 150 ça, c'est même qualité 150 à l'autre monde ka pay. But, tanto. Mr. Speaker, the playing fields, we worked on the Bellevue Court, and I am proud of the Bellevue Development Committee and the work that they are doing to continue work on the court. Mr. Speaker, I want to praise the development committees in my constituency. I want to urge the council. I urge council, Mr. Speaker. Premier Minister di yon bagay, and the Prime Minister advised the councils. The Prime Minister advised the councils to follow the law. I will reiterate, Mr. Speaker, that there is a burning bobo in Vieux North about the Vieux North Rural Council and what they did in 2011 with $500,000 that they transferred through the council to Vieux South. It's there. It was sent to the DPP. People who sign, who are not supposed to be chairpersons of the council. It is there. So I'm hoping, Mr. Speaker, that the laws are followed. Mavledi aussi, Mr. Speaker, that Ministre di yo ka mette light Vieux North. Mwen zadi person poko ekwi mwen di mwen about ça. Mwen tana yo di that say lights la member for Denry South Party vle. Il dit pas vle ça la Philippe pièce. Voyez ça côté by moun ki pas important. That is what it is. But I've heard nothing official. So, Mr. Speaker, I say to you, in closing, Mr. Speaker, that I'm here to represent the people of Vieux North. We are a fishing community, we are an agricultural community, and we have needs just like everybody else. The member for Castries South is who shouts all the time. After the last election, it was not 5 months or 6 months. He was here doing the same thing, asking for roads when he was Minister for Infrastructure. So exactly so that's why I'm pleading for the people of Vieux North that the government treats them with respect and dignity. I urge you, Mr. Speaker, I urge the government, stop selling out St. Lucia. Stop making St. Lucians feel like soon we're not going to have a country. Stop privatizing all of our institutions. This is not a business. This is not a business. Stop privatizing our hospitals. Stop planning to give the current St. Jude hospital structure to a private entity. And stop trying to bamboozle the people. If you want to mash up the hospital, which you will never do and can never do, if you want, just tell us. And ensure that the people, the nurses at St. Jude, at the stadium, are removed as soon as possible. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the people of Vieux North once again, and I look forward to the rest of the debate. Thank you very much.